So in this class I will discuss about the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act NDPSA 1985. The first act for drug abuse and dependence in India was the Opium Act of 1857. This was revised first in 1878, the Opium Act 1878, and then in 1950, the Opium and Revenue Laws Act 1950. Another relevant act was the Dangerous Drug Act of 1930, which included, among other drugs, opium and its alkaloids and cocaine. This act provided for a maximum punishment of 3 years. With the coming in force of the NDPSA, means the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 61 of 1985. On 16 September 1985, the above mentioned act has been repealed. The act includes narcotic drugs like cannabis, cocaine, coca leaf, opium, poppy straw, and all manufactured drugs, and psychotropic substances. 76 drugs and their derivatives are listed in the schedule, that is diazepam, pentazocine, phenobarbital, etc. The authorities and officers have been suggested in Chapter 2. If any person produce, process, transport, import, export, sell, purchase, or use any narcotic drug or psychotropic substance except ganja, he shall be punishable with rigorous imprisonment for not less than 10 years, which may extend to 20 years, and a fine of not less than 1 lakh rupees, which may extend to 2 lakh rupees. Punishment for a repeat offence is a rigorous imprisonment for not less than 15 years, which may extend to 30 years, and a fine of not less than 1.5 lakh rupees, which may extend to 3 lakh rupees. Punishment of ganja handling is a rigorous imprisonment for 5 years and or a fine of 0.5 lakh rupees. For a repeat offence, the imprisonment may extend to 10 years and the fine to 1 lakh rupees. However, if a person is carrying small quantities, for example 250 mg of heroin, 5 gram of charas, and 5 gram of opium, 125 mg of cocaine, which were latter specified, then the punishment is a simple imprisonment which may extend to 1 year or a fine, or both. For ganja less than 500 gram, imprisonment is up to 6 months. There is also a provision for detoxification under count order. A later enactment, the Prevention of Illicit Traffic in NDPS Act 1988, has also been passed, Act 46 of 1988. There is now a provision for preventive detention and seizure of property. The maximum punishment is death penalty if a person is found to be trafficking more than or equal to 1 kg of pure heroin, for example, twice, despite conviction and warning on the first attempt. So these are the in details of the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Act NDPSA 1985. Next, coming to the a Code of Ethics for Psychiatrists. The Indian Psychiatric Society IPS has recommended a Code of Ethics for Psychiatrists 1989, which is summarized here. The principles are: a psychiatrist has a clear social responsibility. A psychiatrist must maintain high standard of professional competence and ensure continuing self-education. Benevolence and patient interest precede self-interest. A psychiatrist must maintain high moral standards. Patient welfare is of paramount concern to a psychiatrist. It includes not to treat cases which are not in his domain, terminating treatment when cannot help the patient, and treating with the best of the ability. Confidentiality of the patient records must be meticulously maintained. So these are the principles or the code of ethics to be maintained by a psychiatrist. Next, coming to the recommendation. So the recommendations are: the treatment should be given with patient consent. Every person who is a major and does not appear to have lost ability of reason is capable of consent. If the patient cannot give consent due to mental illness, consent should be taken from a person close to the patient who appears to be clearly interested in the patient's welfare. However, treatment can be given without consent in an emergency situation involving immediate threat to the life or the health of the patient or others. For research purpose, consent should be entirely voluntary. The patient can withdraw consent at any stage without his affecting patient interest. Next, hospitalization should be for patient welfare, keeping in view the legal and administrative constraint and social appropriateness. Psychiatric treatment should be started only on clinical consideration for patient welfare and should be humane and never punitive. No psychiatrist should refuse to treat in an emergency. No gift and gratification should be accepted from the patient under treatment. Any sexual advance towards any patient is unethical. In case of doubt and or unconventional treatment procedure, a second opinion must be obtained. It is unethical to force a contact on a patient during treatment. Even if the patient is referred by legal or administrative authority, patient welfare is paramount and patient should be informed of the purpose for which he is to be examined. The basic human rights of mentally retarded should not be unethically abridged. In the interest of the patient and the society, drug abusers who refuse to give consent may be treated with the consent of their relative. Effort has to be made to motivate them for accepting treatment voluntarily. So these are all about the code of ethics for psychiatrists. Next, coming to the ICMR guideline for research 2000. In 2000, the Indian Council of Medical Research ICMR has released ethical guidelines for biomedical research in human subjects. These guidelines are very similar to the GCP, means Good Clinical Practice Guidelines, and the prevalent international guidelines. These guidelines regulate all biomedical research in human subjects in India. Next, coming to the MCI Code of Medical Ethics 2002. All psychiatrists as doctors are also bound by the Code of Medical Ethics of Medical Council of India, MCI, called as the Indian Medical Council Professional Conduct, Etiquette and Ethics. Regulation 2002, the code name into effect from 6 April 2002. The full code is available at the website of MCI at http://mohfw.nic.in. So here I am completed the whole chapter, legal and ethical issues in psychiatry. So please follow my next class for next update.